Suzuki has never entered a proper contender in the super naked class. I mean, they had the B-King, but that thing was kind of like bringing a bazooka to a gunfight. It was 40 kilos overweight, which made it way too chubby to party with the cool kids, and I know how that feels. Anyway, this year, nudie bike fans were rapt when Team Blue and White launched the GSX-S1000. Now that's a shit name. Here, watch Nick trying to say it 5 times fast.
GSX-S1000. GXX. No.
You can shorten it to Gixxess, but that sounds a bit like princess, and some bikers have a very fragile sense of masculinity. Anyway, name aside, here's 7 things that I love about this bike, and 3 that I don't. Normally I think these kind of lightning bolt radiator cover things look totally try-hard, but on this thing, they kind of work. It looks squat and powerful and muscular and fast. It's got shoulders like an Olympic swimmer, and it looks good from some weird angles I normally avoid shooting from. Oh man, that sound is just unmistakably Gixxess. Listen to the way it just growls at idle and then snarls its way through the mid-range. And the top end!
Oh yeah, we got ourselves a screamer here, folks! Oh man, it sounds fantastic, and so much of the sound comes from here, this roaring induction snarl that it has. So it sounds great from the rider's seat. But that's how you make an involving bike, folks.
Of all the super nakeds I've ridden, this thing feels more like a super sport bike than any of them. It's built out of the old long-stroke motor from the K5 Gixxess, which was an absolute revolution in its day, and it's still a frickin' beast. But it's not a torque beast, it demands revs. So it's super smooth and civilized around town, but it goes absolutely bonkers when you open it up and unleash the horsepower.
You know that inline 4 slingshot effect you can get? Well, if you like that, this is the naked bike for you!
Super nakeds are all about big performance with a riding position that's aggressive yet comfy. 2 thumbs up here, whether you're dodging traffic through town, cruising on the highway, or attacking the twisties. The Gixxess is roomy and upright, with enough space to climb around when you're having a good time. The airflow over the headlight and dash is smooth and clean, and big miles on the highway are no problemo. Plus, it's got Renthal fat bars as standard, so the grips feel very familiar if you're used to handling a bit of girth. This thing is super basic with almost no distractions. The only things you could really call gadgets are these. A one-touch starter button that you no longer need the clutch for. Nice work. Then there's this take-off assist thing that gives you a little squirt of gas to keep you from stalling when you go to take off. I like that too. And there's 3-level traction control that you can easily switch off on the fly. And thank Christ, it doesn't go back into nano mode when you turn the bike off. Brilliant! The Gixxess handles beautifully and carves corners as hard as anything on the market. It's compact and light and fun to throw around. In fact, I reckon this would be a ripping track day bike as well as killing it on the street. The KYB suspension is fully adjustable at the front and it's got everything except compression at the back. And all I've done really is raise the rebound a couple of turns to account for that last lasagna I scoffed. Naked bikes need to be able to do it all, and to me, this thing nails the brief. Sadly, I can't show wheelies on this channel, so here's some related imagery instead. This thing wheelies like a shot stallion if you know how to flick a clutch. Out of the box, it's an absolutely wild stunt machine. It just revs out for so long that you never feel like you have to put the front down. It's super addictive. It's like the bike just goads you into bad behavior at all times. So, if you're the kind of person that struggles to say no to the devil on your shoulder, consider yourself warned. And make sure you've got a subscription to fork seals and steering head bearings monthly. The fueling on this bike is fantastic except for one old familiar thing.
Like many fuel-injected bikes, the Suzuki here suffers from a nasty case of throttle snatch that upsets the suspension a little. It's jerky enough to almost spoil what's otherwise a great handling package. And I'm not saying it's difficult to fix aftermarket. Like, I'll put a couple of suggestions up here in the Gizmag article that I linked to for how to fix it. But there's other fuel-injected bikes out there that don't suffer from this problem now and still meet all the emissions laws. So it's the kind of thing I don't think we should let manufacturers get away with anymore. So join with me, friends. Say no to Snatch!
That engine just begs for more revs at all times. But if you want to enjoy your full 145 horsepower, this bike requires you to break the law. It tops out at 138 kilometers per hour in first gear, which means that by the time you get into the fun bit of the power curve, you're going fast enough to smoke your license. Now, you put up with that sort of thing on sports bikes because it actually helps on a racetrack. But most naked road bikes are geared closer to 100 in first, and it helps them feel a ton gruntier and more fun when you're going slow. Now, this is personal taste, but as a card-carrying nutbag, I'd be fitting the smallest front sprocket and the biggest rear one I could find to make this bike even more mental at road speeds. Mind you, then I'd probably complain it revs too high in 6th on the freeway, so... I'm starting to get real picky here because there's just not that much to fault. These radial Brembo brakes are great, but there's no switch to turn off the ABS and do skids and stoppies, which means you've got to pull the fuse out instead. Job done. Not a big deal. All in all, there's not a lot I don't like about this bike, and the few niggles I do have are all very fixable. It's a proper super nudie bike that's light, quick, compact and powerful, and ready to do it all. It destroys around town and it pones noobs in the twisties. It feels like a proper Gixxess with its pants off, and if you like your naked bikes fast and filthy naughty, you've got to put this one on your test ride list, especially given its very reasonable price tag. I reckon you've got to judge a naked bike by its giggle factor, and frankly, I'm looking forward to taking this one back to Suzuki so my poor flogged out giggle muscles can get a bit of a rest.